Azores. Now, we're talking about a place that is located right in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, as you can see them there. We are one of the places on Earth that is further away from any colonizing sources, being colonizing sources here continents. So the nearest distance that we have to the east side is precisely Lisbon at 900 miles away. And to the west side, it is Newfoundland. Guess what? About 1,600 miles away. Now, the Azores are a group of 9 islands, as you can see, that spread across the Atlantic from one end, from the most eastern side to the most western side of the archipelago. You have 330 miles. Now, it's a group of 9 islands that we group into clusters, right? So let's go through them. 3 clusters from east to west. There's 2 islands on the eastern side, and this is important for you to know because when thinking of the Azores and you have to plan several islands, you need to know that there's a difference in distance between them. So on the eastern side, you have Santa Maria and São Miguel, then a cluster of 5 islands in the center called Terceira, Graciosa, São Jorge, Faial, and Pico, and then the western boundary of the EU community, you have Corvo and Flores. Now, one question usually about the Azores is, how is the weather like in these islands? Now, this picture tells you a little bit of the weather. It is mild all year round. Average temperatures do not go much below the 50s in the winter, and they do not go over the 85s in the summer. So it's mild all year round. This is average, obviously. So temperate weather, oceanic weather, where there's always a nice, mild weather for you to do your activities. Now, let me give you some details about some highlights of each of the islands. So we have the island of São Miguel. This island is the biggest of the islands, big in terms of physical size. Maximum length, it is less than 50 miles. Maximum width, around 20 miles. And it's also the one that has more than 50% of the total population of the Azores. By the way, the total population of the Azores is around 248,000 people. São Miguel has just over 138,000. Now, São Miguel, one of the highlights is precisely what you see in this picture. It's these volcanic structures that we call caldeiras. Now, why are they important? Because this is the fingerprint of the landscape in the Azores. All the islands have these volcanic craters, more than one per island, by the way. They're important because some of them, there's one special one in São Miguel that is considered one of the 7 natural wonders of the entire Portuguese territory. Now, the Azores are known for its landscape and nature, but we also have some nice cosmopolitan cities. We have 6 cities, 3 in São Miguel, and as you can see, yes, cruise ships do come through the Azores. Now, I told you these islands were volcanic. Some features will show you the evidence of this volcanic background. For example, that person there is having a nice swim in the water that is heated by volcanic action, and the temperature there is just over 100 Fahrenheit. So it's a true youth fountain. Now, you can find these experiences all over the Azores. Now, another experience that shows the volcanic background of these islands, you can find it in our gastronomic experiences. For example, we have a traditional meal in São Miguel, which is known as cozido. Basically, we get a bunch of ingredients, put them in a pan, put them down in a hole, and 6.5 hours later, you have an outstanding meal. Now, the Azores are known for the nature, as I told you, but also known for incredible exotic culture. And the best way to see the culture in the Azores is precisely in its industrial legacy. For example, the picture shows the tea production in these islands. We are the only place in Europe that produces tea, and we've been doing it for more than 200 years. And it's not the fact if the tea is good or bad. You'll have the opportunity to taste it one day you come to the Azores. It's because we still use traditional 19th century machinery and methods to produce it. The same thing happens with pineapple production, with tobacco production, and so on. So basically what I'm saying is the culture in the Azores, you find it in the daily living. Now let's go to another island. This one is called Santa Maria. Now Santa Maria was the first island to have been discovered, and it's a good island to explain to you a little bit of the contrast in the landscape of the Azores. It's also ideal to tell you that the urbanized areas of these islands are completely different from what you normally find in other places. For example, you can see the traditional villages where people live. It doesn't matter what you do for a living. These are, for example, some of the traditional houses. There are no skyscrapers in the Azores. We don't have trains, and there's no subway. So everything is very picturesque and interesting. Also, Santa Maria is ideal to tell you a detail that is, although the Azores are not a traditional beach and sun destination, we're not by tradition. This doesn't mean we don't have beach areas and you can enjoy a lovely sunbathing in these islands. So yes, there are several islands in the Azores with incredible beach areas. So let's go to the central group and the island of Terceira. Just a few, one or another highlights. Besides its incredible landscape, one of the highlights on this island is the city of Angra do Heroísmo. Now, the city of Angra do Heroísmo was the first city and the only one in the Azores, by the way, that is World Heritage Site classified by UNESCO since 1983. So one of the things that you definitely have to do when you come to the Azores is just wander around the streets of this beautiful city, and from one end to the other of the roads of the city of Angra, you have a complete lesson in history, art, architecture, and politics from the 15th century until the 21st century. Also, the island of Terceira is ideal for another important thing. The Azores are known for nature, for culture, but also for the amount of festivities that we have all year round. And the island of Terceira is ideal for it. We have, from February until the end of October, there's always something happening every single weekend. Doesn't matter if it's a profane festivity or a religious festivity, there's always some kind of event. And the island of Terceira is a one where there's a huge amount of popular participation. Right now, at the moment, in San Miguel, we are having, for example, strong celebrations of the unique devotion of the Holy Spirit. Now, let's go to another island in the central group. This one is called Pico. Pico is the highest point of the entire Portuguese territory. It's over 7,000 feet in height. Yes, you can climb to the top in the day. There's no hotels up there. But one of the highlights of this island is what you see here in front. These features, these are vineyards built by man, stone by stone. Now, it's considered one of the biggest man-made stone networks in the world, and I'm including the Great Wall of China. Imagine centuries of working on these vineyards, stone by stone. It is said that if you grab them, all these stones, and you put them in a line, you would go around the world at the equator level twice. Now, why is this important? Once again, it's nature and culture all together, because we still produce wine in this area. So you can see the local communities, okay, in the daily living, showing you how we live our own culture. Now, also, I could not leave this island without talking about something we used to do until quite recently, in the 1980s. We used to hunt whales. We don't do it anymore, obviously, but we've transformed it into one of the most prosperous touristic activities, which is whale watching. But we'll talk about that as soon as it comes. But what's important is that we did whaling, and the boats, the factories, the people, they're still there for you to visit and to see a part of our history, which is right through into the 20th century. Now, the island of São Jorge in the central group, known as the Dragon Island, as it is very, very long and quite narrow, maximum width 5 miles, maximum length close to 40 miles. Now, some of the highlights on this island has to do with the dramatic landscape that you can see. These structures here that we call fajages. Now, fajages are flat platforms at sea level. caused either by landslides or lava flows, doesn't matter. Why are they so important? Because there's over 70 of these frajages, and this is a place where people used to settle. And each one of these frajages has its own kind of microclimate. So it's like small microcosms where people live, each one different from the other. One is known for being a whale surfing haven. The other one known for the fruits it produces. In another, we produce coffee. In some, you can go by car. In others, the only way in is on foot. Now, it's important because these frajages are known as biosphere reserves. Now, the island of St. George is also ideal to tell you that when we have islands that do not have the most desired beach areas, don't worry, because this is what we have all over the islands. Natural pools, very exquisite and private natural pools all over around the islands where you can enjoy an outstanding bathing time. Now, every island has got its own visiting card. For the island of St. George, I chose cheese. Why? Well, the Azores are responsible for more than 50% of the total cheese production of Portugal. That's because we produce more than 50% of the milk production of Portugal. And the cheese of St. George is a gastronomic experience. All the islands, by the way, produce their own kind of cheese, several different types. This one is an EU standard product with more than 500 years of recipe development, and it's a kind of a cheddar cheese. Big effort for you to have an idea to produce one of these cheeses. You need 114 liters of milk in ounces. I don't know, that would be 3 cows probably. Now, let's go to Fayal. Fayal used to be the belly button of the cosmopolitan Atlantic by the end of the 19th, beginning of the 20th century. And that has to do because of the development of telecommunications. All the submarine cables and even aviation, commercial aviation, companies like Pan Am, Lufthansa, Imperial Airways, they could not cross the Atlantic. They would land halfway. They would stop in the island of Fayal, in this bay. And so this island always had a lot of money coming in, and it was very cosmopolitan. So one of the highlights for this island is definitely see the heritage that's been left behind of Art Deco and Art Nouveau, considered one of the best and well-preserved cities in Portugal with Art Nouveau. It's a very, very lively city, the city of Horta. Now, in the 20th century, this island became very famous because we had one of the latest and biggest and best documented volcanic eruptions in the Atlantic. This was 1957-58. In fact, the huge communities of Azorians that we have in the U.S. Left precisely because of this eruption. Today, what you have is a nature reserve. It increased the island in about 2 square miles. And underneath the lighthouse, you have one of the most interesting and award-winning European science volcanological interpretation centers for you to visit. Now, still today, this island is the belly button for those that are crossing the Atlantic. Precisely all the sailormen, all the yachtsmen that cross the Atlantic, they all stop in this island. And one way and one thing you should do is definitely go around the harbor and the marina and see the wharf paintings that are left behind by unknown artists. It's considered to be one of the biggest open-air galleries of artists that is renovated every single year. Now, let's go to a little island called Graciosa. Means graceful. This is a rural island known for more than 20 windmills that were working until quite recently, some of them. And this island, by the way, is one of the 4 islands that are included in the world list of biosphere reserves. Not a part of the island, but the entire island. It's the island of Graciosa. It's the entire area of St. George. It's the island of Flores and Corvo, which I'll mention afterwards. And why is this so important? Because being part of the world list of biosphere reserves means a place that has found the right balance between development and preservation. So these islands are unique because you will see the people that go into the villages. This is what the village looks like in the area. with buildings of the 17th, 18th century, but people go to work and they have the latest technology there, 21st century Wi-Fi, and then they go home and they still have the traditional recipes that have been passed by generations, and you go to the restaurants and you see those same recipes, and there's huge investment in preserving nature that you don't find anywhere else, totally endemic for the Azores and for these islands, and more than that, it's a place of contrasts where people might take the latest convertible car into the coffee and by the village, but there's still somebody arriving in the traditional means of transportation, which is the donkey. There's still people using it. By the way, the donkey is the short one, not the one with glasses. The other one is me. Now, let's go to the western side, and we have the island of Flores. Now, this island is considered to be one of the wildest of the islands that we have here, known for the huge waterfalls with more than 300 feet of vertical fall, known for the stories of pirates, corsairs, and buccaneers, known for incredible landscapes, but more than that, just because just around the corner you have a little island called Corvo. And Corvo is a unique case in the Atlantic that you have to visit. This is an island that is 3 by 4 miles, maximum length and width. This is an island that has 460 people living there. But trust me, they have everything you need. There's the runway, they have all the technology, and this island is a good example to show us how you can live in the 21st century as a 19th century community. Until very recently, the door locks of the houses in Cornwall were made of wood, not only because wood does not rust with all the salty breeze that goes around, but also because, let's be honest, they trust each other. If something happens, they'll find you sooner or later. So basically, this is just to say that it's the safest place on earth. That's what the Azores are. And more than that, this is an ideal island to tell you what the Azores are in one word: romance. Okay? And it's probably pictures like these that explain why the Azores have the highest birth rate of the country. It's romance. So there you go, 9 islands, totally different. How do you get to them? You fly. Now, flying is easy when you go from Boston or from Auckland. We have direct flights almost on a daily basis from Boston Logan Airport in to the Azores, and guess what? It's 4 hours non-stop flight. 4 hours, okay? And going back 4.5. And by the way, once you arrive, you go through customs, you check out your luggage, you're at the hotel, not more than half an hour has gone by. But you can fly also from Auckland. Now, you can fly from other destinations, but not straight into the Azores. From New York, you can use the airline TAP. What about from the Azores into Europe? There's all sorts of connections, okay? We have daily flights from different companies going into Lisbon and Porto, but also flights going into Madrid, to Madeira, to Germany in several locations, and so on. In between the islands, you can fly, and my opinion is you should fly when you go in between groups, as ferries, definitely, they can be time-consuming. So if you only come for a week, definitely use the flight. But ferries, you can use them on a daily basis between 3 of the islands that were in the central group. You might remember precisely these 3 here. Okay, Faial, Pico, and São Jorge. These islands easily connect. It's a 15-minute ride by ferry. So what about accommodation? Well, when you get to the Azores, there's over 16,000 beds for you, all different types of accommodation, from 5-star hotels to residentials, hostels, bed and breakfast, okay, eco lodges. There's all sorts, and counting in future projects coming in on all the islands, north coast, south coast, city, beach areas, you name it. There's plenty of accommodation for you to choose from. Now, what about activities? This is the most important. The Azores have got over 1,000 different experiences. You can go hiking, for example. We have over 800 miles of hiking trails in the Azores. Okay, and the beauty of it is that there's nothing dangerous. We don't have snakes, no problems with mosquitoes, Zika for us is the name of a dog. And you can go through these trails either hiking or cycling, and they're all different from each other, and there's always something new to learn from. You can also choose and go for more experiences as if you were Jules Verne. So geotourism in the Azores is very big. We are included in the global network of geoparks under UNESCO also, the entire archipelago. So you can go down a volcanic chimney, up a lava tube, swim in hot heated thermal pools. There's a lot to do in terms of geotourism in the Azores. Now, if you're a person of adrenaline, you can go out for canyoning, right? Several of these islands have ideal conditions for canyoning. By the way, the two of our islands, Flores and St. George, are considered in the top 10 islands in the world to do this activity, but also surfing is becoming a big trend in the Azores as we have a swell always coming from any side of the Atlantic, and the places for surfing are not crowded and easy to get to, and we're even receiving some international competitions. Now, one of the highlights in terms of activities is definitely whale watching. The Azores are in the top 3 places in the world to go whale watching. Not only because we have a resident population of sperm whales, as you can see in the picture, but also because we are right in the middle of the migratory patterns of these animals when they're migrating to the Arctic or coming back through the year. Some of the best seasons, I would say April, May, could be one of the best seasons to see, to do whale watching in the Azores. Obviously, diving is also one of the highlights. We are becoming the hotspot for diving in the Atlantic. Every island has different characteristics. It doesn't matter what kind of certification from PADI, CMAS. We have all sorts of dive setters on all the islands for you to go diving. Now, the beauty of diving in the Azores is not just the average visibilities of more than 90 feet, is the fact that we have water temperatures just over the 80s. It's the fact that you can go out for biodiversity, big pelagic like whale sharks, manta rays, but also for wreckage. Remember, we were the central point for all the trading that happened in the Atlantic during Portuguese, Spanish times, and also
Rory, I think we lost you. Hi, everyone. We're having some audio technical difficulties. If you could just hold on for 1 second. Rui, are you back, Rui? I thought we lost you for a second.
I am.
Okay, so we've got you going. We've got the screen ready to take off from where you just last stopped. Go right ahead.
So anyway, I was just saying that there's plenty of activities to do in these islands, and you can do them all in a day or more than one in a day. Not all of them, obviously, because this is a compact destination. But remember, nature is not everything. There's over 600 years of history in these islands, 600 years of culture, and this culture is not just built into museums. It's precisely in the daily living that we have on each of these islands. So I think that what I need to tell you basically, and what you have to retain about these islands, is that we have, and this is my final message, 9 different islands. Imagine the combinations that you can do, okay? Totally different islands for you to visit, known for incredible nature, an outstanding nature, but definitely a safe place to be. Known for exclusive culture. Some of the things that you'll see in the Azores have disappeared from all over the place. They've been preserved here. They've disappeared from mainland, but we keep it here because we were right in the middle of the Atlantic trying to survive through the centuries. And one way to experience the Azores is definitely see how we've used tradition, the local products, and transformed it into the new modern area. So my final message is I think the Azores have got top qualities for your guests or for yourselves, those that are looking for a place that is not far away, 4 hours flight from the US, from Boston, a place that is safe, a place that is new, that has always something different, a place, by the way, where you already know you have a partner, that's why we are connected, and a place that is considered to be the most sustainable touristic place in the world. And this means it is genuine, it is safe, it has something new, but it's prepared to receive those that are looking for the tourism of the 21st century. Definitely a place not just to see from the brochure, you have to see it close, and more than that, you have to taste it. Thank you very much. I hope you absorb something of this.
Well, great, Rui. Thank you very much for that excellent presentation on your wonderful islands. I encourage everybody to start typing any questions you may have, but in the meantime, we already have a few people that have typed in a few questions. So Rui, maybe you can handle these. I'll just read them out loud. The first one is from Linda. Linda asks, so with all these islands, do you recommend people traveling there to go on just one island, or choose a few islands that best fits them? And if it's more than one, what's the best source of transportation? Inter-island flight, boat? I think you covered that, but maybe you can reiterate again your perspective there.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so this is our suggestion. It all will depend on the profile of who's in the guest. If you go for the first time, for a short period, it's always best to see something and just something equivalent.
Rory, we lost you. You're coming up broken a little bit. I think you must have just maybe moved. Can you come back to? Yeah, I think you maybe come back. You may have moved a little bit. But I think what Rui was saying is we definitely recommend, if you're going to be there, the best thing to do is to really get a taste of a few of the different islands. We recommend typically doing more than one, depending on if you've got 5 days, maybe just 2 islands. But if you've got a week or more, which is obviously what we recommend, you can do up to 3 islands, depending on how much. Great. You're still coming in broken, Rui, but maybe I'll read out some of the other questions. Is there a large fishing industry in the Azores?
Not large.
Okay, so it's the answer is it's not a huge. There is some fishing there, but it's not a huge destination overall. But there is some sports fishing there if you're interested in doing that sort of thing. The next question is what island is the U.S. military based on? Terceira. So the island is on the island of Terceira. I think Aliki also asked a question, what's your advice for moving from one island to the other? For example, San Miguel to Terceira. It looks like ferries take a long time. Flying a better option. So as Rui indicated, ferries do have interconnectivity with some of the central islands, but it does certainly make more sense if you're interested in flying. It's quicker, it's more convenient, and it's a very dependable flight system within the Azores. Whereas sometimes with the ferries, as we all know, you can have weather delays or high seas or rough seas. That's not usually the case, but that's why we typically recommend for people that are pressed for time to just connect through flights, especially since they're inexpensive enough. Are the flights from Oakland direct, or are they connecting through Boston? So the flights from the West Coast connect through Boston. There are no direct flights from Oakland, California. That would be too far. The most direct flights are coming through Boston, and Boston's a wonderful city. For those of you who may not have visited it, it's a fantastic destination that has a lot of culture, a lot of arts, and a lot of history as well. So feel free to stop 1 or 2 days through New England. And I think, would you tell us about some of the guided vacations that you and your clients offer? Sure. We offer through Quest Travel Adventures a variety of different itineraries that we've put together in cooperation and collaboration with the Visit Azores team. The first ones range from 5 days, and depending on the excursions that you're interested in, some of the starting prices are at $595. We also have 7-day itineraries and 9-day itineraries that include both hotels, transportation, and we typically include a couple, 2 to 3 excursions, but all those are customized. If you call our 1-800 number at 1-800-693-1815 or visit Quest Travel Adventures. I don't see any other questions, and those have been in the last 5 minutes. I'll just give it a few minutes. If any of the participants still have any questions, please do so now. Otherwise, I think that we are going to wrap up. FAM trips. So do we have FAM trips? Actually, a couple more questions. Yes, we do have FAM trips on occasion. Quest Travel Adventures facilitates FAM trips for a variety of destinations. And if you are interested in participating in a FAM trip, please feel free to send us an email through our website, and we will certainly keep you on the consideration list when the opportunities to have a FAM to the Azores arises. And the last question is, do you offer travel agents commissions? So yes, we do offer 12% travel agent commissions, and that is on all of our tours to a variety of different locations around the globe. And if you just call in, we can tell you more about those travel agent commissions. So on that note, I'm conscious with everybody's time. It's currently 2:05. Rui from Visit Azores, thank you again for a fantastic presentation. We very much look forward to all visiting your wonderful islands and to sending our clients your way. So thanks again, Rui. And with that will conclude today's presentation. Thank you for joining.
Thank you very much.
And again, feel free to visit Azores.com or Quest Travel Adventures for any further information. This concludes today's session. Thank you and have a great day.
Cheers. Thank you.